I am here with Danny Popovici, author of The Fox and the Forest Fire. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So happy to have you. This is, I just want to tell how we met, if you don't mind for a second. After the forest fires that took place near Boulder, you reached out, and I thought this was so amazing. You reached out to see if there was a place that you could donate your books for kids to understand what had just happened. And your book captures that so well, of how forest fires can affect your home, how you have to move, how you have to change things. I went through a forest fire in California when I was in middle school, and I resonated so much with this picture book. So I just want to thank you for reaching out to see where you could donate some of your books and for writing this book. It's perfect. So once again, that's The Fox and the Forest Fire. So how about we start with you telling us a bit about yourself? Where are you from? What's your favorite animal? And if you had to choose, what would be your last meal on Earth?
Oh my goodness. Well, a brief history about me. I was born in Romania. I moved here in Oregon when I was about 4 years old, and have grown up in Oregon just about my whole life. A perfect place for the outdoors. You're nestled between desert, mountains, forests, and the ocean. So you have a little bit of everything, and it's a great place to be if you're into the outdoors. Um, my favorite animal? I guess that's a little bit about myself there.
Yeah, that was perfect. And I love Oregon, by the way. It is beautiful, and I agree with the having everything around you is perfect.
I've heard legendary things about Denver as well.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great.
Favorite animal, to jump there, I like a lot of the animals that kind of roam the African continent. Tigers, lions, elephants are one of my favorites. African wild dogs are incredibly beautiful looking. But then I like dolphins. The whole animal kingdom is very special. They're all a lot smarter than we give them credit for, and it's great to be sharing a planet with so many beautiful species. So it's hard to just pick one, where I think each one brings a little something important to the table. Except centipedes. I don't really like centipedes.
Yeah, no. But how about foxes? What are your thoughts on foxes?
They're amazing. They're incredibly beautiful, very smart and cunning, and they have this incredible yelp or bark. I don't know what you'd call it, but the sounds are very unique. So if you haven't had a chance to hear one, you should Google it and check it out. It was startling to me when I first heard it, when I was doing my research.
So you listened to some foxes while doing your research for the book then?
Yeah, just to know a little bit more about the species and stuff. But
that makes sense, yeah. All right, and then, oh, wait, sorry.
I could delve into more about the fox itself, but I just thought it'd be good to have a little better understanding.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then last meal on Earth, if you had to choose.
Oh, I think just a good pizza.
A good pizza.
It's simple. Again, I think there's a lot of great food on this planet. It's really hard to choose. Maybe if I could pick a pizza from one of my favorite places here in town.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have any recommendations if people are visiting Oregon of a pizza place to check out?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. If you like New York style pizzas, I would recommend Scotty's Pizza.
Okay.
Other than that, a Pizza Shoals is very popular here in Portland, and for a good reason. They do make really, really good pizza.
Nice.
Those two are probably my favorite.
Very good. Well, I'll have to check them out because I love pizza. So thank you for the recommendations. Okay, so we did just record a story time of this book that everyone should go and check out. And then we do sell them here at Second Star to the Right Books as well. But for those who haven't had a chance to hear it yet or come and pick it up yet, could you describe your book for our audience just so they have an understanding?
It's a pretty simple story. A young boy moves away from the city with his mother into a new home somewhere into the woods, and he leaves the familiar surroundings of an urban life city into a place that he's never really seen or experienced before as much as he is now. And at first he just has nothing to do. He doesn't really know what to do in the woods, and he's bored, but eventually finds a new appreciation for his new surroundings. And in the process of finding that appreciation, he discovers this fox that they kind of become, near friends here and there. And then they acknowledge each other, and a fire threatens their homes, and they work together to safely evacuate not just themselves, but also their animal companions and the boy's mother.
So this book is definitely important for children. Even if you haven't experienced a forest fire, I think it's a good way for kids to understand forest fires. Was this based on childhood, or where did the inspiration come from for this?
It wasn't based on my childhood, but it was kind of based on events that had happened here in Portland. A few years ago, a fire broke in the gorge not far from the city. And from my personal experience, I think it is the first time I've ever seen and smelt so much smoke in the big city coming from somewhere not far. And I know this happens often, depending on wind direction, but I think a lot of people do experience forest fires, but it's often not necessarily in big cities. And I think when you start seeing the effects trickle into a big city, more and more people are aware of kind of what happens more often than not. And so I was saddened to kind of just uh, see the orange skies and then think about the animals that could be affected back,
Yeah.
in their homes. So it did sadden me, and I wanted to process my emotions. So I decided to write this story. About 20 years ago, I did forest firefighting for a few seasons. So I had a little bit of experience um, with firsthand of forest fires. And I thought maybe taking that experience and then my illustration and writing experience and kind of merging the two and creating something that might bring a little, might answer some questions or give a little comfort to somebody that isn't quite sure what's going on.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I love it. So your art is wonderful. It is so beautiful. You capture people's emotions so well. Um, I want to find my favorite page really quick. Just his expression. Um, when he says like, I don't like this place, even if you weren't to have read that, you can like see that expression on his face, and it just cracked me up because it reminded me of when I was a kid. I was not into nature, and I grew into loving nature, but I remember my aunt taking me on this hike, and I was like, ugh. And so when I saw that, I just cracked up, and I was like, I didn't even need to read the page to know exactly what was going on. Do you believe your art captures who you are as a person?
I do. Yeah. I think a lot of artists subconsciously draw themselves in their own work, certain features, um, bodily things like that. I see it when other artists draw just naturally or subconsciously. I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like you. And I think a lot of artists do this. And I didn't mean to, but I mean, Oswald is the name of our main character. He kind of looks like me as a little kid. It happens.
Yeah.
As for the emotions I try to convey, I studied animation in college, and so in animation they really have you push exaggerations and performances, excuse me, gestures, and so I think um, that um, that history of kind of understanding character helped me kind of illustrate characters to express their emotions a little better than maybe if I didn't study animation before.
Yeah, I love that. So is drawing then your relaxing time? Is it your happy place?
Most of the time, yes. It depends on the assignment. Usually, my happy place is when I actually maybe carve away that time to do just playful work where I get to experiment and do whatever I like. Other times, it can be a little stressful. Maybe if you're assigned a certain illustration that maybe you're having difficult with, and you're constantly doing revisions just to make sure it gets right. It can be a headache, but not always. I mean, most of the time, it is my happy place. I just enjoy letting go and seeing what I come up with.
So this is you've worked with other authors before illustrating their books. So what is the process of working with an author to illustrate their story? And then what's your favorite part of that process?
Yeah, I think my favorite part, and I've worked with two other authors before this. My favorite part, even when it's not working with other authors, even just when I work on something that I wrote, is just developing the look and the feel and the emotion of the story. basically the visual development phase, like the very early steps where I get to decide what the environment's going to look like, what the character's going to look like. I think that's when I really get to play and have fun. And what's great about children's books is that it's very welcome to different mediums, different styles. Like there are rules, but there are also rules that are there to be broken. And it's very exciting to try whatever you think works. And if it works, it works. And that's just a very exciting time. Again, back to the whole playtime. I think when I do visual development in the early stages, that is kind of my playtime. But then when I start getting into, okay, I like this, I like that, then it becomes a little more difficult to make sure you retain that consistency throughout and not veer away from that vision, which sometimes could be troublesome for me, but that's all right. It's discipline.
And then do you have a dream author you do anything for in order to illustrate one of their books?
I thought about this a lot. I hate saying no, I don't. A lot of my favorite authors are illustrators. They're also my favorite illustrators. And so they do such a good job of marrying their own pictures and words that for me to butt in would probably ruin their vision. A few artists that come to mind, Carson Ellis, Beatrice Magna, they're just amazing, and they wouldn't need somebody like me to draw over their. But then there are authors that I really do like. I like Mac Barnett a lot. Andrea Davis would be a great person to work with. And then Neil Gaiman kind of dabbles, with children's books,
Yes.
to more older audiences. If I had a chance to work with him, I think that'd be a dream come true. So.
That would be cool. I love Neil Gaiman. Pirates 2 is one of the coolest picture books. So what is the most difficult part of getting a book together? Whether it's, Fox and the Forest Fire, or even one that you've illustrated for another author, like what's the most difficult part?
That's a really good question. And at least for me right now, I'm working on my own on the next project, but it's not picked up by a publishing company yet. So there's no deadline. There's nobody telling me when I should get my drawings or manuscripts. And so right now it's discipline. I have to kind of get on myself of getting everything out there on time and just making sure I at least chip away at something, because if I don't, then there's nobody really telling me what to do. So right now it's kind of that's being the most difficult part. So I need to battle myself to overcome that and just get something out there. Because when I do, the ball gets rolling and I just have time with it. I'm guessing my own decisions sometimes gets in the way. I need to be a little more firm about this and that. So, but I think that and consistency, like I said earlier, making sure you don't get too excited about maybe a new style you want to play with halfway through your book, and then you don't want your first book to look different than your second half. So it's difficult to maintain, but I guess that would probably fall under discipline.
Yeah. And then we kind of touched on this a little bit with you talking about some of your favorite authors just a second ago, but do you have a favorite picture book of all time, or like a top 3 maybe?
It does change often. I will go back to the artist Beatrice Alamagna. I'm sorry if I'm butchering her name, but she's just fantastic. Everything she makes, it's incredibly gorgeous. The stories are simple. One of her books is A Magical Do Nothing Day. Just love that book. I mean, I just pulled it up.
You have it already. I love it.
I just love her work. She's very playful with everything, and it just seems like my work is sometimes line driven, where hers is more shape and color driven, and it's very loose. I would say she's probably my favorite working artist at the moment. Anna Sender is another one that I really, really like. Oliver Jeffers, of course, he makes great material.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it changes. I often get influenced by some different artists. And then I have other peers that I've studied under, such as David Hone or Lee White. They're both amazing artists. So I always like to follow their work as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So lastly, can you tell us any future projects that we can look forward to from you?
A little bit of the current project I'm working on now, but it's simply, or it's just based off of my own history and my family's history. My family's from Romania, like
Yeah.
at the beginning, and I hate superstitious people, and I want to try to capture the magic of superstitions in our modern day, and I think kind of how maybe more people are losing that magical belief in superstitions because we have answers to so many of the things that happen around us. So I'd like to touch on the magical and the culture that they could bring to the world.
Oh, you just like hit on everything I love. So I am very excited for that book. Do you have
Great.
any idea of when it's coming out?
I have no idea. I'm still
Okay.
working on my first draft, and I'm in that visual development phase where I'm kind of feeling out the look and feel of the book. But I'm getting there. I have 2 sketchbooks almost full of drawings, and
Uh,
I'm at the part where I'm gonna submit this to my agent, make sure everything looks good, and I'm sure I'll get plenty of feedback. But at least then I could chip away and make something better than it would be if it was just me working on it. Like I love working with editors, art directors, and my agent because they always kind of keep me on track to make the best work I
well, if you need another person's eye, I highly recommend myself. I would be happy to read it because I just love
can. I
the
love.
superstitions and magic. And I agree with you. It does kind of feel lost, especially when it comes to heritage and like the folklore and the stories that have been passed down. I feel like we're kind of losing that a little bit. So I'm really excited for that one. Ooh, what a fun thing to end on. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to interview. It was a pleasure. And thank you for virtually visiting us all the way from Oregon.
Yeah, I would have loved to be there in person, but maybe
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, anytime you're in Denver, please hit us up. We would love to have you for a proper in-person story time. So once again, I'm with Danny Popovici, the author of The Fox and the Forest Fire, and it is available at Second Star to the Right Books. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and happy Earth Month, everybody.
Yes, happy Earth Month. Tomorrow's Earth Day, so exciting. Bye, Danny.
Bye.